अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्तो राधा कान्तो नमस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुः सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वञ्चाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। One last time. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Very warm welcome to all of you. So today we'll start the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Last time we read the third chapter, the descriptions of lust in the last section of the third chapter. So we saw that lust is born out of mode of passion, right? Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajaguna, Samadbhava. So lust and anger are born out of mode of passion. When when we want to enjoy the pleasure which comes out of contact of senses and sense objects, that is called lust. And that lust is arise because the love of Krishna is deteriorated into lust. Just like when the milk comes in contact with lactobacillus, it converts into curd, right? You cannot convert the curd back into milk, but you can convert the milk into curd. So lust is like the curd, and love for Krishna is like the milk. So once love for Krishna has deteriorated into lust, then it's very difficult to convert it back to love for Krishna. But when you take association of pure devotees and hear from them, do chanting and read Bhagavad Gita in their association, then slowly that can also be done. And then we uh, went through 3 degrees of lust, right? Anybody remembers what were the 3 degrees? Or what is the highest degree of lust? Example given. Yes, Prabhu, right?
Yeah, Prabhu, 3 degrees are defined by Lord Krishna. One is it's like कि mirror है, mirror पे धूल लगी हुई है. Oh, that is for 1 degree, which is given to human being, which is like compared to human being. Then next is you. No. I think it is fire and smoke.
Yeah,
So there's a fire and there's a smoke. So it's easiest to remove smoke and clear the lust. So it is given to human being. Then next is mirror and the dust. It is given to the level of animals.
yeah,
And third is within an embryo you are, so it's very difficult to remove the covering of embryo. That is
yes,
like the most difficult part. That is given to plants.
yes. Very, very nice, bro. Thank you very much. So these are the 3 degrees of lust. That when the fire is covered with smoke, then just a little bit you wave the smoke, and then fire can be ablaze, right? So it's the minimal degree of lust, and that is compared to human beings. So little bit of prasadam you give, little bit of association you give them, immediately they will feel the spark of spiritual shelter. Yesterday, Imanchu Prabhu came in our program here in Bangalore. We celebrated our kid's first birthday. So, like, he was serving continuously. And many devotees said that he has done bhakti in his previous lives. That's why he can serve so much. And he doesn't have anything. Today is not there, but I'm just telling. So these things are there because little bit association you get, then you feel connected to Krishna. You feel those positive, subtle vibrations. And that's why Like immediately you feel sheltered and then you want to surf. So as soon as your vessel is full, you feel sheltered, you want to surf. And the second degree is the mirror and the dust, as Prabhu told. So when you clear out the dust on the mirror, then immediately your consciousness will be clear. That is compared to the birds and animals consciousness. And the third degree, where basically you are too much constricted in your position, you don't have any degree of freedom, and that is compared to the a baby in the embryo. So you are not able to move at all. Whatever mother is eating, you have to eat that. You have no freedom in what. At least birds have freedom what they can eat. They can go to other roof if they don't like one roof's rice. But the baby doesn't have any freedom. So once he comes out and then he like starts walking, and then degrees of freedom develops slowly, slowly. So like this, lust is binding, right? The more lusty you are, the less degree of freedom will be there. So that's why these four regulative principles are called four principles of freedom. The more deeply you follow, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex, the more dear you will become to Krishna, the more closer you will come to Krishna. And then just like four Kumaras and Yogendras, you can just float from one planet to another. Just like so many Maharajas are there in ISKCON, they are always traveling. Like I think yesterday I was hearing one lecture Maharaj was telling about Kanyakumari. He was telling it's a very nice place, very peaceful, and they have maintained the cleanliness so nicely. So Maharaj, he has traveled everywhere. He has gone to Kanyakumari. He has gone to Badrinath, where Narnarayan Rishi was narrated Bhagavatam by Vyasdev. So he has covered everything. We are just stuck in our uh, Mathunagar, right? Like in our Grahasthashram. That this is like a Mathunagar if Krishna Katha is not going on. So basically, that's the principle. The more you become Krishna conscious, the more you become free. For example, now four Kumaras are traveling from Satyaloka to Brahmaloka, Janaloka. Sometimes they are going to Bhuloka also to meet Prithu Maharaj. Prithu Maharaj is welcoming them. So degree of freedom is very high. Just by one single desire, just by clapping, you can go to the place where you want to go. So lust should be purified. Lust should be transformed into love for Krishna, and then Krishna gives the sitting places also. Lust is our enemy. Kamesha, Krosha, Disha, Rajaguna, Samudam, Mahashna, Mahapapma, Vedayanam, Iha Varinam. So lust is our foremost enemy. And then Krishna describes where what all places enemy has captured. It has captured the intelligence, it has captured the mind, it has captured the senses. So all these three places enemy is sitting. So just like when we suppose India-Pakistan war is going on, so India wants to beat Pakistan, then we will capture the information where Pakistan soldiers are there, so that we know that whom to kill, what we are dealing with. So similarly, Krishna is giving a very analytical description of lust, where all it is sitting, so that we know that what all we have to defeat. And then finally, in the last verse of third chapter, Krishna says, by regulation and detachment, we can overcome lust. So if we are regulated in our activities, if we are attending Mangalarti, if we are attending these classes, if we are chanting 16 rounds, if we are reading Bhagavad Gita, if we are reading Prabhupada Lilamrita, if we are reading Bhagavatam, morning daily we are reading Bhagavatam. Sorry for today. Schedule was hectic because of yesterday. So then actually slowly we can conquer lust, because ultimately lust is captured intelligence and mind. And when we read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, then that lust becomes purified. Our original Krishna consciousness gets awakened. So this intelligence can be strengthened by two ways. One is by hearing about Krishna, the other is by associating with devotees who are similarly aligned to cultivate Krishna consciousness. Because when we associate with devotees, then automatically our intelligence will be awakened. For example, I have experienced many times in the morning when I take bath at 4 o'clock, then immediately my intelligence is very clear. I start remembering things, Krishna conscious things, which basically which happened yesterday, and many realizations come because Krishna is there at that time. Brahma Murta is there, so the degree of goodness is very high. So your intelligence is very sharp, and immediately Krishna gives reciprocation. So now, as I said, that to purify lust, there are two ways. One is uh, to hear, like when you hear from senior sadhus, then basically you strengthen your intelligence because you are hearing. And the other way is to associate with devotees, to take physical association of them, like you sit together and you do spiritual activities. That way, that exchange will take place. So the first one, strengthening of intelligence, takes place by emitting transcendental knowledge. So that is the fourth chapter. Fourth chapter name is transcendental knowledge. And in this, Krishna will in detail describe that how transcendental knowledge is absorbed by a conditioned living entity, how he comes, when he comes, how this disciplic succession was created, and why there was a need so that Krishna had to speak Bhagavad Gita again to Arjuna, why this disciplic succession got broken. So the entire pros and cons, the entire analysis uh, of transcendental knowledge will be done by in the fourth chapter. So this transcendental knowledge will purify us and help us come above the lust, come above the conditioning of our mind. Okay. So with those words, we'll start the fourth chapter. Any questions? इमं विवस्वते योगं प्रोक्तवान् श्रीभगवानुवाच इमं विवस्वते योगं प्रोक्तवान् अहमव्ययम् विवस्वान् मनवे प्राह मनोरिक्ष्वाकवे ब्रवीत्. The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivaswan, and Vivaswan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. So there is this disciplic succession going on. Krishna is telling that first of all, I instructed this science to Vivaswan. Vivaswan is the sun god, and Vivaswan told it to Manu, and Manu told it to Purport. Herein we find the history of the Bhagavad Gita traced from a remote time when it was delivered to the royal order of all planets, beginning from the sun planet. The king of all planets are especially meant for the protection of the inhabitants. And therefore, the royal order should understand the science of Bhagavad Gita in order to be able to rule the citizens and protect them from material bondage to lust. Human life is meant for cultivation of spiritual knowledge and eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the executive heads of all states and all planets are obliged to impart this lesson to the citizens by education, culture, and devotion. In other words, the executive heads of all states are intended to spread the science of Krishna consciousness so that the people may take advantage of this great science and pursue a successful path utilizing the opportunity of the human form of life. Yeah. So ultimately, the leaders should be imparted Krishna consciousness. For example, our Shiksha Guru, he used to do program in IIT Delhi, and all of his students, at least he had 500 students. Every one of them became professors in other universities after completing PhD. So they themselves became Brahmana indirectly. Whoever students they are assisting with in PhD, they also became Krishna conscious. So it's the duty of the government to educate the kings in Krishna consciousness. So kings should take shelter of Brahmanas. For example, yesterday when Brahmana came in our house, he recited so many mantras, he did homa, and finally tendency function was done. So there was a like element of auspiciousness. The aura created was very auspicious because of the presence of devotees. So such dedicated brahmanas who have dedicated their life in cultivating surrender to the Supreme Lord, surrender to the Brahman, these brahmanas should be served. We should take association of these brahmanas, and periodically in family life, especially when there are so many bindings, so much obligations are there. Every act is full of sinful, full of karma actually. So then there we should take exclusive shelter of devotees. Devotees should be prioritized in every sphere of life. So then only we will be able to cultivate Krishna consciousness. And then once we understand Krishna consciousness, then we can transfer that to others also. Just like we are also, all of you are feeling a little bit positive vibrations of Krishna consciousness. So that's why king should be taught in Krishna consciousness, because king has to rule over the citizens. He has to give them basic necessities of life. He has to extract taxes from them. So the role of government is very important, because the government is Krishna conscious, then indirectly they will very easily form the rules and constitution of the state in such a way that Krishna consciousness will increase among the citizens. So that's why it's very important for all of you also to become leaders in the society and then give shelter to others in Krishna consciousness. That's why, like Krishna is saying here, that Krishna is instructing Bhagavad Gita to the leaders. He's instructing to the sun god Vivaswan, Manu, who is the king of the Manu dynasty, and Ikshvaku, who is the king of the Raghu dynasty, right? Okay, so we'll read here till here. In this millennium, the sun god is known as Vivaswan, the king of the sun, which is the origin of all planets within the solar system. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated, Yachakshuresh Savita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Saramurtirashesh Teja Yasya Gaya Brahmati Samrita Kala Chakro Govindhamadi Purusham Dhamam Bhajami. Let me worship Lord Brahma, said the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda, who is the original person and under whose order the sun, which is the king of all planets, is assuming power and heat. The sun represents the eye of the Lord and traverses its orbit in obedience to his order. Yeah. The sun is the king of the planets, and the sun god rules the sun planet, which is controlling all other planets by supplying heat and light. He is rotating under the order of Krishna, and Lord Krishna originally made Vivaswan his first disciple to understand the science of Bhagavad Gita. The Gita is not therefore a speculative treatise for the insignificant mundane scholar, but is a standard book of knowledge coming down from time immemorial. So basically, it's a descending knowledge, it's not ascending. So we have to surrender to the authorities, and authorities will reveal this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to us. In the Mahabharata, we can trace out the history of the Gita as follows. Treta Yugado Chatatos Vivaswan Manave Dadho Manushchaloka Vriti Artham Suta Yiksha Kave Dadho Ikshvakuna Chakathito Vyapyalokanavastita. In the beginning of the millennium known as Treta Yuga, this science of the relationship with the Supreme was delivered by Vivaswan to Manu. Manu, being the father of mankind, gave it to his son Maharaj Ikshvaku, the king of this earth planet and forefather of the Raghu dynasty, in which Lord Ramachandra appeared. Yeah. So in the Ikshvaku appeared in the Raghu dynasty. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita existed in human society from the time of Maharaj Ikshvaku. So sun is one of the eyes of Krishna, and moon is the other eye of Krishna. If we can see like that, then we can be Krishna conscious in every sphere of life. Just like taste of water is also Krishna. Sun represents the eye of Allah. Okay. Second verse. Evam parampara praptam evam rajarshayo vidhu sakalene mahata yoganashta parantapa. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. Yeah. So this science of Bhagavad Gita has to be understood in under a disciplic succession. Then you will realize the absolute truth. Once Professor Durkheim asked Prabhupada, how does your disciples realize the absolute truth? Prabhupada said, by hearing. Durkheim could not understand. Then again, Prabhupada said, by hearing. Durkheim said, no, I didn't understand. He said, by hearing, hearing. By 20 times hearing also said, Durkheim did not understand. But actually, the real enlightenment in our heart happens by hearing. Krishna Prema. Sorry, what is this? Nitya Krishna's. Nitya Krishna. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunai Shramanadi Shuddha Chitte Karadevada. So we become eternally liberated. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunai Shramanadi Shuddha Chitte Karadevada. So the Krishna Prema becomes established in our heart when when our consciousness becomes purified by hearing and chanting. Shravan Adi Shuddha Chitte Karade Udav. Just like the sun rises in the morning, similarly, the basically Krishna arises in our heart when our heart becomes purified by the process of hearing and chanting. Shravanadi. Okay, it is clearly stated that the Gita was especially meant for the saintly kings because they were to execute its purpose in ruling over the citizens. Certainly, Bhagavad Gita was never meant for the demoniac persons who would dissipate its value for no one's benefit and would devise all types of interpretations according to personal whims. As soon as the original purpose was scattered by the motives of the unscrupulous commentators, there arose the need to reestablish the disciplic succession. So you cannot speculate on the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. You have to repeat what you have heard in the disciplic succession. That is the speciality and purity of a disciplic succession. That's what makes you humble also. 5,000 years ago, it was detected by the Lord Himself that the disciplic succession was broken, and therefore He declared that the purpose of the Gita appeared to be lost. In the same way, at the present moment, also there are so many editions of Bhagavad Gita, especially in English, but almost all of them are not according to authorized disciplic succession. There are innumerable interpretations rendered by different mundane scholars, but almost all of them do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, although they make a good business on the words of Sri Krishna. So there are so many editions. Ramakrishna Paramhans, Yogananda Paramhans, and Ravindranath Tagore. Oh, so many editions are there who are commenting on Bhagavad Gita. They say that, okay, I think that fa- following family life or satisfying everybody in family life is the main teaching of Bhagavad Gita. They gave their own interpretations. They don't take learnings of Bhagavad Gita as it is. They gave it, and those people who are in those modes of nature, they like that. But that doesn't purify their heart. Heart will be purified only when we hear Bhagavad Gita from the right sources, authorized sources, and disciplic success. This spirit is demoniac because demons do not believe in God but simply enjoy the property of the Supreme. Since there is a great need of an edition of the Gita in English, as it is received by the Parampara disciplic succession system, an attempt is made herewith to fulfill this great want. Yeah. Bhagavad Gita accepted as it is a great boon to humanity, but if it is accepted as a treatise of philosophical speculations, it is simply a waste of time. Yeah. So if you are hearing from an authorized source, then it's a great boon, and same can be turned into a bane, a curse, if you speculate on it and propagate that speculation to others. Okay. Any questions on this? So first section is between these first four verses. स एवं मया तेभ्य योगप्रोक्तः पुरातनः भक्तोऽसि मे सखा चेति रहस्यं हि एतदुत्तमम्. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. So here Krishna is mentioning a couple of qualities which we should have. Then only we will understand and assimilate Bhagavad Gita. So first quality is that we should be a devotee of Krishna. Then only we will understand Bhagavad Gita. Second is we should be his friend. We should not be envious of Krishna. We should have a friendly disposition of heart towards Krishna. Okay. There are two classes of men, namely the devotee and the demon. The Lord selected Arjuna as the recipient of this great science owing to his being a devotee of the Lord. But for the demon, it is not possible to understand this great mysterious science. There are a number of editions of this great book of knowledge. Some of them have commentaries by the devotees, and some of them have commentaries by the demons. Commentation by the devotees is real, whereas that of the demons is useless. Arjuna accepts Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And any commentary on the Gita following in the footsteps of Arjuna is real devotional service to the cause of this great science. So this is also very important. Accepting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Accepting Krishna as the Supreme Controller. Accepting Krishna as our best friend. Accepting Krishna as our best well-wisher. Suridam Sarva Bhutanam. gyatva mam shantim richati. When we understand that Krishna is our best well-wisher, then we become peaceful. Because then we know that Krishna will arrange whatever is needed for us. We are not in any anxiety. So that is the peace formula. But who understands that Krishna is the supreme personality of God? Who understands that Krishna is sitting in our heart? Krishna is giving us inspiration how to act. Krishna is moving things in our world. Nobody understands. Everybody thinks that I'm the doer, I can control things. But actually, we are not the controller. Krishna is the controller of the world. Even when we think that we are controller, we are actually the three modes are acting. Three modes are controller. Prakrite kriyamanani, ude karmani sarvasha, ahankar vimudhatma kartahamiti manyate. So this ahankar makes us muda. Ahankar makes us think that we are controlling. But actually, the three modes of nature are controlling. Because ultimately, this is the reality that we are either in ignorance or passion or goodness. And if we are in goodness, then we will not be controlled so much. We will have a sense of peacefulness, sense of satisfaction, contented, and we want to propagate this message to others also. And then we can go towards Krishna consciousness also. And then we will not be controlled so much because we are in Krishna consciousness. We are not disturbed by any other situation. So we are happy within ourselves. We are happy within our relationship with Krishna, within our heart. We are happy with our sadhana. We are happy with the association which we are getting. And we are happy just by reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. We are happy just by all the spiritual activities. But these convictions has to be strengthened by the association of pure devotees. When we follow the instructions of pure devotees, when we live in his ashram, and we dedicate our life to the spiritual master, then our conceptions will be transformed. Brahmachari Gurukule Vasandanto Guru Ritam Acharan Dasvatinicho Guru Sudrida Sauridam. So everybody should make his house as a Gurukula, and he should live there for the pleasure of Guru, for the well wishing well for the Guru. Then automatically, when you hear from Guru, Guru comes to your house, he speaks Krishna Katha, he blesses you, and you get a chance to serve his spiritual body, to wash his clothes, to serve him prasadam, to iron his clothes, to drive him to other places where he can speak Krishna Katha. Then automatically, because of those blessings, your convictions, your transformations will take place in your heart. And then slowly, you will become Krishna conscious. Your spiritual conviction will become very strong, and you will be able to perceive Krishna continuously because of the blessings of the Guru and because of the service which you have done to the Guru. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. So first, so according to the rules, we have to pranipat. Pranipat means we have to surrender, and then we have to ask questions. When we serve, when we hear from a spiritual master, then we ask questions. Pariprashnena sevaya. And not only challenging questions, but submissive questions along with service. Then when we receive the answers to those questions from the spiritual master, then our heart becomes illuminated. Upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. So when they will speak, then our heart will become illuminated by Krishna. Because they have seen the truth, they will enlighten us to seeing the truth. Only thing required from our side is we should be humble. Because the wind flows from high pressure to low pressure. Similarly, the knowledge of Krishna consciousness flows from the high, like from the high source to the humility source. Yeah. Instead, they concoct something about Krishna and mislead general readers from the path of Krishna's instructions. Here is a warning about such misleading paths. One should try to follow the disciplic succession from Arjuna and thus be benefited by this great science of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So this is very important. The source of hearing from you, from which you are hearing, it should be very, very pure. Then your heart will be transformed. Otherwise, we will always be struggling with our anarthas. We are not able to adjust in society. Our Krishna consciousness is not good. We are not able to respect all living entities. All those struggles will be there because our hearing and chanting is not good. Because this hearing is like our roti and sabzi. If we don't hear, then your entire day will be running around, agitated. But if you hear, then your entire day you will carry that spiritual potency, that Krishna Shakti throughout the day. So this hearing, a daily routine program should be there for hearing. Okay. Any questions? We'll just cut it. Arjuna Vacha. So now Krishna has described that how this disciplic succession was lost and there was a need to reestablish it by giving this knowledge to Arjuna. Now Arjuna will ask another question to Krishna. Aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvata katham etad vijaniyam tvamadav proktavaniti. Arjuna said, the sun god Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? So now Arjuna is asking a logical question. He's stuck in his mind. Just just like we also ask na logical question. That science has taught us evaporation, condensation. Now Indra is doing rain. If science has already explained that the sun is evaporating the water from the sea and the clouds are forming, clouds are again condensing just by itself. Why Indra? Why Indra is required? So all those questions we'll ask. Because we don't believe in a person. This devotional service is a personal process. It's not an impersonal process. Behind everything there is a person. Yajna happened yesterday. How it happened? Because of a person. There are blessings of sadhus, and because of those blessings, Krishna is very kind, and that's why devotees came. Yajna happened nicely. Everything happened nicely. So there is a the blessings of sadhus and elder members play a lot of role in culminating any event. So that's why, like, every process is personal. Indra himself, he directs the clouds. For example, cloud is burst in Manali. Why is it burst? Because of some karmic, some collective karmic issue in that area. So all these things, they don't happen by default. They are arranged by the Lord for their purification, according to the three modes of nature. So we have to understand these things like this. Then we will be able to understand the higher Krishna conscious principles. Yeah. So let's read the purport. Anybody wants to read? Yeah, Mataji, you want to read? Agya Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, if possible,
But
all of you can open your camera when you read.
yes, Prabhuji. Arjun. Arjun is an accepted devotee of the Lord. So how could he not believe Krishna's words? The fact is that Arjun is not inquiring for himself, but for those who do not believe in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or for the demons who do not like the idea that Krishna should be accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For them only, Arjun inquires on this point, as if he were himself not aware of the personality of Godhead or Krishna. As it will be evident from the 10th chapter, Arjun knew perfectly well that Krishna is the Supreme.
Okay, internet issue. Okay, anybody else wants to read? Yeah, go ahead, Roji.
प्रभु जी कहाँ से पढ़ना है? The Krishna is the supreme authority in.
Yes, yes. Camera.
Yes.
Yeah.
Krishna is the supreme authority, is accepted by the whole world, not only at present but from time immemorial, and the demons alone reject him anyway. Since Krishna is the authority accepted by all, Arjuna put this question before him in order that Krishna would describe himself without being depicted by the demons, who would always try to distort him in a way understandable to the demons and their followers. It is necessary that everyone, for his own interest, know the signs of Krishna. Therefore, when Krishna himself speaks about himself, it is auspicious for all the words. to the demons, such explanation by Krishna himself may appear to be strange because the demons always study
प्रभु
Krishna.
प्रभु थोड़ा मतलब थोड़ा क्लियर नहीं हो रहा है, मतलब आप जल्दी जल्दी पढ़ रहे हो और एक कोई वर्ड क्लियर प्रोनाउंस नहीं कर रहे हो। कहाँ पे हो आप? मेरे को मतलब समझ नहीं आ रहा एक्चुअली।
ओके प्रभु जी, प्रभु जी हम
मतलब
यहाँ पे हैं, ये लास्ट से 5th लाइन।
अच्छा, आप शुरू से पढ़िए, स्टार्टिंग से पढ़िए वर्ड।
ओके। Purport. Arjuna is an accepted devotee of the Lord. So how could he not believe Krishna's word? The fact is that Arjuna is not inquiring for himself, but for those who do not believe in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or for the demons who do not like the idea that Krishna should be accepted. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for them, only Arjuna inquires on this point, as if he were himself not aware of the personality of Godhead or Krishna, as it will be evident from the 10th chapter. Arjuna knew perfectly well that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the fountainhead of everything and the last word in transcendence. Of course, Krishna also appeared as the son of Devaki on this earth. How Krishna remained the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, the eternal original person, is very difficult for an ordinary man to understand. Therefore, to clarify this point, Arjuna put this question before Krishna so that he himself could speak authoritatively. That Krishna is the supreme authority is accepted by whole world, not only at present but from time immemorial, and the demons alone reject him. Anyway, since Krishna is the authority accepted by all, Arjuna put this question before him in order that Krishna would describe himself without being depicted by the demon, who would always try to distort him in a way understandable to the demons and their followers. It is necessary that everyone, for his own interest, know the signs of Krishna. Therefore, when Krishna himself speaks about himself, it is auspicious for all the worlds. To the demons, such explanations by Krishna himself may appear to be strange because the demons always study Krishna from their own standpoint. But those who are devotees heartily welcome the statements of Krishna. When they are spoken by Krishna himself, the devotee will always worship and authoritative statements of Krishna because they are always eager to know more and more about him. The atheists who consider Krishna an ordinary man may in this way come to know that Krishna is superhuman, that he is Satchid Anand Vigraha, the eternal form of bliss and knowledge, and that he is transcendental. And that he is above the domination of the modes of material nature and above the influence of time and space. A devotee of Krishna like Arjuna is undoubtedly above any misunderstanding of the transcendental position of Krishna. Arjuna's putting this question before the Lord is simply an attempt by the devotee to defy the atheistic attitude of persons who considered Krishna to be an ordinary human being subject to the modes of material nature. प्रभु जी प्रज्ञा माता जी शायद अब ज्वाइन नहीं कर पाएंगी क्योंकि उनका जो चार्जर है उनकी मदर कहीं गई हैं 2-3 दिन के लिए बाहर, तो वो साथ में ले गई थी, तो इसलिए वो चार्ज नहीं कर पा रही हैं फ़ोन, तो इसलिए शायद वो ज्वाइन ना कर पाए।
ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं।
ओके प्रभु,
आप अपनी कृष्णा कॉन्शियसनेस पे फोकस करिए, दैट वुड बी नाइस। हाँ, तो आप बता सकते हैं कुछ इसका explanation?
जी प्रभु जी, प्रभु जी इसमें बताया गया है कि कृष्णा अगर मतलब जब भी अपने बारे में बताते हैं कि अपने बारे में एक्सप्लेन करते हैं तो वो बहुत मतलब ट्रांसेंडेंस होता है, और जो डीमंस होते हैं वो मतलब बिल्कुल लाइक नहीं करते हैं मतलब कृष्णा को। और जो प्रभु जी इसमें बताया गया है जो कृष्णा के फॉर्म के बारे में बताया वो है सच्चिदानंद विग्रह, मतलब जो ब्लिस नॉलेज और एटर्निटी से भरे हुए हैं। और प्रभु जी इसमें तो अर्जुन जो है वो क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं कृष्णा से।
मतलब कृष्णा is always there basically. मतलब कृष्णा, it's not like कि कृष्णा was junior to Vivaswan because Krishna appeared for 5,000 years ago for like as the cousin of Arjuna, right? So Krishna appeared again at the time of Vivaswan. So in the next verse, Krishna will tell that Krishna is like Arjuna was also present when Krishna was giving this knowledge to Vivaswan. So Krishna is always there. Like Krishna is an eternal. Krishna doesn't have a body like us. That this body will be born, body will be finished. Krishna is like our soul. He also has a Sachidanand Vigraha form, and our soul also has a Sachidanand Vigraha form. So Krishna knows what all bodies we have taken, but we don't know like when all Krishna has appeared. Only Shastra gives some reference. Okay, Krishna was there when Vivaswan, when he was speaking to Vivaswan. Krishna was there when he was speaking to Arjuna. Krishna was there when he defeated Ravan in the form, like he was there as Rama. Krishna was there when he killed Hiranyakashipu. All these Krishna came as Buddha. Krishna will come as Kalki at the end of Kali Yuga. So all these references are there in Shastra. So Krishna is always there. Krishna is there in our hearts actually, and slowly we can these things can be revealed to us also when we hear about Krishna. When our sadhana is strong, we can understand that when Krishna will appear, Paritrana sadhuna vinashaya cha duskritam. Even pure devotees, we say that pure devotees are non-different from Krishna because pure devotees are very very dear to Krishna, and they are totally their body is totally spiritualized, so they are very like their Krishna consciousness very high, so you can feel the presence of Krishna by their association. So that's why when we accept the authority of Krishna and when we receive the knowledge of transcendental knowledge of Krishna, then we understand his Sachidanand Vigraha form. And that's why Arjuna is making this inquiry, because these sorts of questions can come to us also, that Krishna was there with Arjuna, and how can Krishna say that he was there with Vivaswan also? Then it looks like a contradiction, paradox, right? So all these logical questions come to our heart. But actually, Krishna is eternal. Krishna is there in everybody. Krishna is there in your heart also, in my heart also. Yeah, Krishna is present as the Chaitya Guru who will tell you the defects, who will correct you. If your relationship with Guru is good, then Guru will correct you. Guru will instruct you so that you can make advancement in Krishna consciousness. Because Guru is heavy, he will dissolve all your knots. He will correct you left, right, and center, and he will love you also. He can be softer than the rose, and he can be harder than the thunderbolt. Yeah. So that's how basically we become free from illusion, free from three modes of nature by hearing from Krishna. When we hear the answers to the questions of Arjuna, and through the disciplic succession, then we become free of illusion. Now Krishna is answering. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava Arjuna Tani aham veda sarvani na tvam veda parantapa. The personality of Godhead said many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subdue at them. So Krishna knows all of our births also. So he knows that what all mistakes we have done in previous births, what all sinful activities we have done. That account is there with Chitragupta in with Yamraj in the Yamloka. So don't think that Krishna doesn't know. So that's why we cannot hide anything from Krishna. Every activity, every thought, thinking, feeling, and willing we are doing, that Krishna is knowing about that. So it's better to surrender to Krishna. Better to do our activities which are pleasing to Krishna nicely, and then surrender to Krishna. Okay, let Krishna take care of us. Krishna take care of our sinful activities. Then automatically Krishna takes care. Avashya Rakshibhe Krishna. है ना? क्षिप्रम भवति धर्मात्मा शाश्वत शांतिम निगच्छति कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीहि न मे भक्ता प्रणश्यति. He will protect us. He will protect our remembrance of Krishna all the time. He will purify us from our past sinful conditions. He will change our tendencies by giving proper association according to our receptivity. So like this we can change. Yeah. In the Brahma Samhita, we have information of many incarnations of the Lord. It is stated there, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adhyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakta Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, who is the original person, absolute, infallible, without beginning, Although expanded into unlimited forms, he is still the same original oldest and the person always appearing as a fresh youth. Such eternal, blissful, all knowing forms of the Lord are usually not understood by even the best Vedic scholars, but they are always manifest to pure, unalloyed devotees. It is also stated in Brahma Samhita, Ramadimurteshu kalaniyamena tistan nana avataram akarod bhuvaneshu kintu Krishna swayam samabhavat parama pumanyo govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajam. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda, who is always situated in various incarnations such as Rama, Narsimha, and many sub-incarnations as well, but who is the original personality of Godhead known as Krishna, and who incarnates personally also. So tomorrow is Janmashtami, and Krishna is going to incarnate in all of our hearts. So tomorrow also we will read from Krishna book in the evening. Maybe we can meet between maybe after 8 o'clock, 8 to 10 we can read. So tomorrow is fasting till 12 o'clock at night. So we have to prepare our hearts so that Krishna can appear in our heart. So all these festivals are great opportunities where you can feel the internal potency of the Lord, and then you can increase your spiritual conception. So I think we can meet in the evening from 8 to 11, 8 to 10, I think, and we'll read about Krishna. Will do some bhajan. Okay. Yeah, this paragraph, anybody wants to read? Ravi Prabhu? Actually, all these things, these obstacles in our devotional service, these happen because of our own heart. Whatever Mataji is facing, like if our determination is not so strong, we don't prepare our lives in such a way that we have to prioritize these things. Because these are small things and we have to prepare for these. Like keeping a stepney charger, right? And all these things. But yeah, like what can be done? Go ahead, Prabhu, please.
Okay, Hare Krishna. In the Vedas also it is said that the Lord, although one without a second. Okay, let me just put it as a landscape mode. Okay, in the Vedas also it is said that the Lord, although one without a second, manifests himself in innumerable forms. He is like, sorry, I just missed the screen. Okay, he's innumerable forms. He is like uh, the Vedarya stone which changes color yet still remains one, and all these multiforms are understood by the pure unalloyed devotees, but not by simple study of Vedas. Vedasu durlabham adurlabham atma bhakta. Devotees like Arjuna are constantly constant companions of the Lord, and whenever the Lord incarnates, the associate devotee is also incarnate in order to serve the Lord in different capacities. Arjuna is one of the devotees. Arjuna is one of the devotees, and in this verse it is understood that, so in order to some millions of years ago, when Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to sun god Vivaswan, Arjuna in a different capacity was also present. But the difference between the Lord and Arjuna is that Lord remembered the incident, whereas Arjuna could not remember. That is the difference between the part and parcel living entity and the Supreme Lord. Although Arjuna is addressed herein as the mighty hero which could subdue the enemies, he is unable to recall what has happened in the various past births. Therefore, a living entity, however great he may be in the material world, material this thing,
Okay, okay.
a material person, but he cannot be equal to the Lord. The Lord is described as in the Brahma Samhita as infallible, Achyuta, which means that he never forgets himself. He never forgets himself, even though he is in material contact. Therefore, the Lord and the living entity can never be equal in all respects, even if the living entity is liberated as Arjuna. Although Arjuna is a devotee of the Lord, he sometimes forgets the nature of the Lord, but by the divine grace, a devotee can at once understand the
Infallible.
infallible conditions of the Lord, whereas a non-devotee or a demon cannot understand the transcendental nature. Consequently, these descriptions in the Gita cannot be understood by demonic brains. Krishna remembered acts which were performed by him millions of years before, but Arjuna could not, despite the fact that both Krishna and Arjuna are eternal in nature. We may also note herein that a living entity forgets everything due to his change of body, but the Lord remembers because he does not change his Satchitanand body. He is Advaita, which means there is no difference, the distinction between his body and himself. Everything relation to him is spirit, where the conditioned soul is different from his material body. And because of the Lord's body and self are identical, his position is always different from that of an ordinary living entity, even when he descends to the material platform. The demons cannot adjust themselves to this transcendental nature of the Lord, which the Lord himself explains in the following verse. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much. So in the spiritual world, there is no time. Like when, as a spirit soul, we are serving Krishna, we are totally like there is no past, present, or future. You are eternally with Krishna. There is no, there is no pain. There is no suffering. There is no janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi. You are just relishing blissfully Krishna. You are taking prasadam with Krishna. You are dancing with Krishna. You are having surabhi. You are not having diseases. You are not hearing these ambulances putting sirens, right? So, but as soon as you rebel against Krishna in the spiritual world, you have to come to this material world, and then this forgetfulness also begins, because now you have to take material bodies which have some time, some duration for which they exist. So after that, you have to change the material bodies, right? Okay, this. So Krishna remembers all of our bodies, all of our births, all of our activities because he has a spiritual body, Satchidanand Vigraha body. But we don't remember what happened in our past life because we have a material body and we are strongly identifying with this material body. In some extreme cases, we might remember our previous births when we have some benediction, when our Krishna consciousness is strong, when our piety is strong. For example, Gajendra remembered his past lives. Jad Bharat remembered his past lives. Bharat Maharaj became a deer, but still he remembered the bhakti which he did in his past life. So, for example, Gajendra remembered the prayers which he uttered as Indradamnya, King Indradamnya, in his past life. So, when we are put in difficult situation and when we take shelter of Krishna without any other shelter, Ananya Bhakti, like then basically we get the remembrance of Krishna. So when we get remembrance of Krishna, then Krishna might reveal us what happened with us in our past life. So whatever is there needed for our devotional service, Krishna will remind us. Yatharam upayunjita. Correct? Prapanchikatya buddhiya hari sambandhi vastuna mumuksha vi parityago palgu vairagyam katyate. Nirbandha Krishna sambandhe. So what is the other words? I'm forgetting the second words. Prapanchikatya buddhiya. अनासक्तस्य विषयान्यथारमपि युञ्जता निर्बन्ध कृष्ण संबंधे युक्त वैराग्यम उच्यते. So these are the definitions of yukta vairagya and falgu vairagya. So yukta vairagya means that you employ everything in Krishna's service according to the capacity. So whatever we need for doing our devotion, Krishna provides us. Krishna gives us everything. When we take shelter of Krishna, then Krishna will give us proper devotee association. Krishna will send devotees in our life. So everything depends on our like strong desire. Okay. Ajopi sannavyayatma bhutanam ishwaropi san prakritim swamadhisthaya sambhavami atmamaya. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living beings, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. Although Krishna never takes birth, but still he appears as in his transcendental form. So he doesn't need to take birth because he's the Supreme Lord and he creates, he annihilates, he maintains. So he doesn't need to appear actually, but he's still in every millennium, he appears once so that he can protect his devotees, he can reinstate the religion. Okay. So this purport, who will read?
Prabhuji, millennium is how many years?
Millennium is I think it's 1,000 cycles of Chaturvya. One Chaturvya is one cycle of Satyuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, Kali Yuga, right? So that is
Okay.
one Chaturvya. And then one
Okay.
millennium is 1,000 years.
Okay, which is equal to 1 day of Brahma.
Yeah. Yes, correct.
Okay, okay.
So it
Thank
is
you.
said that in one day of Brahma, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears only once. And that one day of Brahma is actually 1,000 Chaturvya cycles. And we are so fortunate that we are in that millennium. We are in that Chaturvya expansion where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared. And we don't know that when he will appear next. So we should take full advantage of his association in this Chaturvya. So we are very, very fortunate that we can experience Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally when we take association on those devotees who have experienced that. And then immediately we can experience that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared in this Chaturvya. So we are really very, very fortunate. And after so many, like it's a rare occasion where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna both appeared in the same Chaturvya. That is also very rare. So that is there. Akshat Prabhu, you want to read purport?
Sure, Prabhu. Sure, Prabhu. Purport. The Lord has spoken about the peculiarity of his birth. Although he may appear like an ordinary person, he remembers everything of his many past births, whereas a common man cannot remember what he has done even a few hours before. If someone is asked what he did exactly at the same time one day earlier, it would be very difficult for a common man to answer immediately. He would surely have to dredge his memory to recall what he was doing exactly at the same time one day before. And yet, man often dare claims to be God or Krishna. One should not be misled by such meaningless claims. Then again, the Lord explains his prakriti or his form. Prakriti means the nature as well as the swarupa or one's own form. The Lord says that he appears in his own body. He does not change his body as a common living entity changes from one body to another. The conditioned soul may have one kind of body in the present birth, but he has a different body in the next birth. In the material world, the living entity has no fixed body, but transmigrates from one body to another. The Lord, however, does not do so. Whenever he appears, he does so in the same original body by his internal potency. In other words, Krishna appears in his material world in his original eternal form, with two hands holding a flute. He appears exactly in his eternal body, uncontaminated by this material world. Although he appears in the same transcendental body and is Lord of the universe, it still appears that he takes his birth like an ordinary living entity. And although his body does not deteriorates like a material body, it still appears that Lord Krishna grows from childhood to boyhood and from the boyhood to youth. But astonishingly, enough, he never ages beyond youth. At the same time, at the time of the Battle of Kurukshetra, he had many grandchildren at home, or in other words, he had sufficiently aged by material calculation. Still, he looked just like a young man, 20 or 25 years old. We never see a picture of Krishna in old age. However, he grows old like us, although He is the oldest person in the whole creation, past, present, and future. Neither his body nor his intelligence ever deteriorates or changes. Therefore, it is clear that in spite of his being in the material world, he is the same unborn eternal form of bliss and knowledge, changeless in his transcendental body and intelligence. Factually, his appearance and disappearance are like the sun rising, moving before us, and then disappearing from our eyesight. When the sun is out of sight, we think that the sun is set, and when the sun is before our eyes, we think that the sun is on the horizon. Actually, the sun is always in the fixed position, but owing to our defective, insufficient senses, we calculate the and disappearance of the sun in the sky. And because Lord Krishna appearance and disappearance are completely different from that of any ordinary common living entity, it is evident that he is eternal, blissful knowledge by his internal potency, and he is never contaminated by material nature. The Vedas also confirm that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unborn, yet he still appears to take his birth in multi manifestation. The Vedic supplementary literatures also confirm that even though the Lord appears to be taking his birth, he is still without change of body. In the Bhagavatam, he appears before his mother as Narayana with four hands and decorations of the six kinds of full opulences. His appearance in his original eternal form is his costless mercy bestowed upon the living entities so that they can concentrate on the Supreme Lord as He is, and not on mental concussions or imaginations, which the impersonalist wrongly thinks the Lord's form to be. The word Maya or Atma Maya refers to the Lord costless mercy according to the Vishwakosha dictionary. The Lord is conscious of all his previous appearances and disappearances, but a common living entity forgets everything about his past body as soon as he gets another body. He is the Lord of all living entities because he performs wonderful and superhuman activities while he is on this earth. Therefore, the Lord is always the same absolute truth and is without differentiation between his form and self, or between his quality and body. A question may now be raised as to why the Lord appears and disappears in this world. This is explained in the next verse. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, bro. Anything you want to summarize? You want to? What is your takeaway point from this report?
Basically, the main differentiation, basically thing that has been portrayed in this verse is basically uh, Krishna is completely he has complete knowledge, and complete knowledge as in he has complete knowledge about the past and the previous birthday that he has, and the human, like, he doesn't change the body.
Yeah.
He lives in the same body, and he never ages out, and nor his intelligence never ages out, like as compared to the human being. So once the person gets aged, his senses as well as his mind starts slowly working. So all these things doesn't happen with him. He has complete knowledge of all the birth, and he is keeping everything about the people that that in the world, and he's the supreme god.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, bro. So Krishna may appear and disappear, but he is always present, right? Just like, so Prabhupada is giving example of sun, that in the night sun might disappear from our side, but sun is always present. Sun is rising in US when it is night time here. So Krishna is always there, and although we might change our bodies, our bodies might change, but Krishna remembers all of our bodies. Yeah. Thank you, bro. यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानामधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजामि अहम्. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice or descendant of Bharata and a predominant rise of a religion, at that time I descend myself. बाप रे बाप, बहुत लंबा report है. The word Srijami is significant here. In Srijami cannot be used in the sense of creation because, according to the previous verse, there is no creation of the Lord's former body, since all of the forms are eternally existent. Therefore, Srijami means that the Lord manifests himself as he is. Although the Lord appears on schedule, namely at the end of Dwapar Yuga at the 28th millennium of the 7th Manu in one day of Brahma. Yeah. So there are 14 Manus. These 1000 Yuga cycles are divided into 14 Manus. Each Manu has like 78 Yugas. So in the 7th Manu, we are right now in the 28th millennium or 7th Manu. He has no obligation to adhere to such rules and regulations because he is completely free to act in many ways at his will. He therefore appears by his own will whenever there is a predominance of a religiosity and a disappearance of true religion. Principles of religion are laid down in the Vedas, and any discrepancy in the matter of properly executing the rules of Vedas makes one irreligious. In the Bhagavatam, it is stated that such principles are the laws of the Lord. Only the Lord can manufacture a system of religion. The Vedas are also accepted as therefore the principles of dharma or religion are the direct orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dharmam to Sakshat Bhagavad Pranitam. These principles are clearly indicated throughout the Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of the Vedas is to establish such principles under the order of the Supreme Lord. And the Lord directly orders at the end of the Gita that the highest principle of religion is to surrender unto Him only and nothing more. The Vedic principles push one towards complete surrender unto Him. And whenever such principles are disturbed by the demoniac, the Lord appears. From the Bhagavatam, we understand that Lord Buddha is the incarnation of Krishna who appeared when materialism was rampant and materialists were using the pretext of the authority of the Vedas. Although there are certain restrictive rules and regulations regarding animal sacrifice for particular purposes in the Vedas, people of demoniac tendency still look to animal sacrifice without reference to the Vedic principles. Lord Buddha appeared in order to stop this nonsense and to establish the Vedic principles of non-violence. Therefore, each and every avatara or incarnation of the Lord has a particular mission, and they are all described in the revealed scriptures. No one should be accepted as an avatara unless he is referred to by scriptures. It is not a fact that the Lord appears only on Indian soil. He can manifest himself anywhere and everywhere, and whenever he desires to appear. In each and every incarnation, he speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people under their particular circumstances. But the mission is the same, to lead people to God consciousness and obedience to the principles of religion. Sometimes he descends personally, and sometimes he sends his bona fide representative in the form of his son or servant or himself in some disguised form. So we can read about this in Science of Self-Realization, that Buddha appeared to denigrate the Vedas because people were using Vedas in order to do meat eating. And then after Buddha, Shankaracharya appeared. Shankaracharya appeared to reinstate Vedas so that people can at least understand the Brahman realization. The principles of the Bhagavad Gita were spoken to Arjuna and for that matter to other highly elevated persons because he was highly advanced compared to ordinary persons in other parts of the world. 2 plus 2 equals 4 in the mathematical principle. That is true in the beginner's arithmetic class and in the advanced class as well. Still, there are higher and lower mathematics in all the incarnations of the Lord. Therefore, the same principles are taught, but they appear to be higher and lower in varied circumstances. The higher principles of religion begin with the acceptance of the 4 orders and the 4 statuses of social life. As will be explained later, the whole purposes of the mission of incarnation is to arouse Krishna consciousness everywhere. Such consciousness is manifest and non-manifest only under different circumstances. So when we follow Varnashrama, then actual real consciousness will manifest. Right now, we are just suffering our subtle things because we are not following Varnashrama. In some section of scriptures, it is written that we can come to real human life only once we start practicing Varnashrama Dharma. If we are not at the level of Varnashrama Dharma, we are animals actually. So that's what they are saying here also. 2 plus 2 might be 4 in the beginning at the arithmetic class, but for a higher spiritualist, the calculus and the equation differs. 1 plus 1 is also 1 in spirituality. Okay. Okay, let's read one more verse. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chatuskritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. To deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. Purport. Yeah, Hina Mataji, you want to read? Okay, if you are not there, I will. According to Bhagavad Gita, a sadhu is a man in Krishna consciousness. A person may appear to be religious, but if he has the qualifications of Krishna consciousness wholly and fully, he is to be considered, understood to be a sadhu. And Duskritama applies to those who do not care for Krishna consciousness. Such miscreants or Duskritama are described as foolish and the lowest of mankind, even though they may be decorated with mundane education, whereas a person who is 100% engaged in Krishna consciousness is accepted as a sadhu, even though such a person may be neither learned nor well cultured. As far as the atheistic are concerned, it is not necessary for the Supreme Lord to appear as he is to destroy them, as he did with the demons Ravana and Kansa. The Lord has many agents who are quite competent to vanquish demons, but the Lord especially descends to appease his unalloyed devotees who are always harassed by the demoniac. The demon harasses the devotee even though the latter may happen to be his kin. Although Prahlad Maharaj was his son of Hiranyakashipu, he was nonetheless persecuted by his father. Although Devaki, the mother of Krishna, was the sister of Kamsa, she and her husband Vasudeva were persecuted only because Krishna was to be born of them. So Lord Krishna appeared primarily to deliver Devaki rather than kill Kansa. But both were performed simultaneously, therefore it is said here that to deliver the devotee and vanquish the demon miscreants, the Lord appears in different incarnations. So Krishna appears to reciprocate with his devotees. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. So to reciprocate and to give shelter to his devotees is his primary cause. Okay. So can somebody read the rest of the purport? Prabjit Prabhu, you can read.
Yes, yes, Prabhu. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita or Krishnadas Kaviraj, the following verse Madhya 20.263 to 264 summarize the these principles of incarnation. सृष्टि हेतु यति मूर्ति प्रपंच अवतारे श्री ईश्वर मूर्ति अवतार नाम धारे नया तथा प्रया प्रयाव भानु
Paravyome. Paravyome. Paravyome.
संयोग में सब
Sabara avasthana Vishwe avatari
Savaravasthana
rahe avatara.
Vishwavatari Dhare Avtar Naam. The avatar of incarnation of Godhead descends from the kingdom of God for material manifestation, and the particular form of the personality of Godhead, who so descends, is called an incarnation or avatar. Such incarnations are situated in the spiritual world, the kingdom of God. When they descend to the material creation, they assume the name avatar. These are various kinds of avatars, such as Purushavatar, Gunavatar, Leela Avatar, Shakti Avashesh Avatar, Mana, Manavatar, Taras, and Yuga Avatars, all appearing on schedule all over the universe. But Lord Krishna is the primeval Lord, the fountainhead of all avatars. Lord Sri Krishna descends for the specific purpose of mitigating the anxieties of the pure devotees who are very anxious to see him in his original Vrindavan pastimes. Therefore, the prime purpose of the Krishna avatar is to satisfy his unalloyed devotees. The Lord says that he incarnates himself in every millennium. This indicates that he incarnates also in the age of Kali, as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The incarnation in this age of Kali is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who spread the worship of Krishna by the Sankirtan movement, congregational chanting of holy names, and spread Krishna consciousness throughout India. He predicted that this culture of Sankirtan would be broadcast all over the world, from town to town and village to village. Lord Chaitanya, as the incarnation of Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is described secretly but not directly in the confidential parts of the revealed scriptures such as the Upanishads, Mahabharata, and Bhagavatam. The devotee of Lord Krishna are very much attracted by the Sankirtana movement of Lord Chaitanya. These avatars of the Lord does not kill the miscreants but delivers them by his causeless mercy. Hare Krishna.
Sorry, Prabhu, I am on mute. So I was telling that Lord Chaitanya, there is this verse, Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam, Sango Pangastra Parsadam, Yagya Sankirtan Prayer, Yajanti hi Sumedasa. So Krishna comes as Lord Chaitanya in this Kali Yuga, and those who are intelligent, he worships Lord Vishnu, Lord Chaitanya, and he is basically Lord Chaitanya is carrying his weapon of Sankirtan, by which he kills all the demoniac propensities of his soul. Let's read one more verse. जन्म कर्म च मे दिव्यम एवं यो वेत्ति तत्त्वतः त्यक्त्वा देहं पुनर्जन्म नायेति मामेति so Arjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Purport: the Lord's descent from his transcendental abode is already explained in the sixth verse. One who can understand the truth of the appearance of the personality of Godhead is already liberated from material bondage, and therefore he returns to the kingdom of God immediately after quitting this present material body. Such liberation of the living entity from the material bondage is not at all easy. Yeah. So if we can experience Krishna on this occasion of Janmashtami, we are already liberated and we are sure to go back to God. So that's why these things are very important to magnify our Krishna consciousness. The impersonalists and the yogis attain liberation only after much trouble and many, many births. Even then, the liberation they achieve, merging into the impersonal Brahmajyotir of the Lord, is only partial, and there is a risk of returning to this material world. But the devotee, simply by understanding the transcendental nature of the body and activities of the Lord, attains the abode of the Lord after ending this body and does not run the risk of returning to this material world. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the Lord has many, many forms and incarnations. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam. Although there are many transcendental forms of the Lord, they are still one and the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. One has to understand this fact with conviction. Although it is incomprehensible to mundane scholars and empiric philosophers as stated in the Vedas. Eko Devo Nit Leela Nirukto Bhakta Vyapi Hridi Antaratma. Baap re baap. The one Supreme Personality of Godhead is eternally in, engaged in many, many transcendental forms and relationships with his unalloyed devotees. This Vedic version is confirmed in this verse of the Gita personally by the Lord. He who accepts this truth on the strength of the authority of the Vedas and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who does not waste time in philosophical speculations, attains the highest perfectional stage of liberation. Simply by accepting this truth on faith, one can without a doubt attain liberation. The Vedic version Tattvamasi is actually applied in this case. Anyone who understands Lord Krishna to be the Supreme, or who says unto the Lord, you are the same Supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead, is certainly liberated instantly. And consequently, his entrance into the transcendental association of the Lord is guaranteed. In other words, such a faithful devotee of the Lord attains perfection, and this is confirmed by the following Vedic assertion. Tameva viditvati mrityumeti nanya pantha vidyate yanaya. One can attain the perfect stage of liberation from birth and death simply by knowing the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there is no other way to achieve this perfection. So that's why we are meeting again and again to read Bhagavatam, so that we can understand the Lord. Just by hearing Bhishmadev's prayers, we are able to understand who is Radha Partharthi and who is Radha Shamsundar, right? When we chant together, I'm getting that realization. So by Maharaj's blessings. Yeah, so So that is the aim of life, actually, that we are able to achieve so easily in each other's association. That there is no alternative means that anyone who does not understand Lord Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead is surely in the mode of ignorance, and consequently he will not attain salvation simply. Yeah. So to speak, by licking the outer surface of the bottle of honey, or by interpreting the Bhagavad Gita according to mundane scholarship. Such empirical philosophers may assume very important roles in the material world, but they are not necessarily eligible for liberation. Such puffed up mundane scholars have to wait for the causeless mercy of the devotee of the Lord. One should therefore cultivate Krishna consciousness with faith and knowledge, and in this way attain perfection. So once we understand Krishna, then we understand our spirit soul. We understand the spiritual nature of our soul. Because when self realization happens by God realization, when we experience God, then automatically we are able to experience our spiritual self. Yeah. वीतराग भय क्रोधा मन्मया मामुपाश्रिता बहवो ज्ञान तपसा भूता मद्भावमागता. Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me, and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. Yeah, purport. It's a long purport, but it's an important verse. We can continue next time, I think. Or anybody wants to read? Ravi Prabhu, you want to read?
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Yes, sir.
As described above, it is very difficult for a person who is too materially affected to understand the personal nature of the supreme and absolute truth. Generally, people are who are attached to the bodily conception of life are so absorbed in materialism that it is almost impossible for them to understand how the supreme can be a person. Such materialist cannot even imagine that there is a transcendental body which is imperishable, full of knowledge and eternally blissful. In the materialistic concept, the body is perishable, full of ignorance and completely miserable. Therefore, people in general keep the same bodily idea in mind when they are informed of the personal form of the Lord's. For such materialistic men, the form of gigantic material manifestation is supreme. Okay. Consequently, they consider the supreme to be impersonal, and because they are too materially absorbed, the conception of retaining the personality after liberation from matter frightens them. When they are informed that spiritual life is also individual and personal, they become afraid of becoming persons again, and so they naturally prefer a kind of merging into impersonal void. Impersonal void, okay. Generally, they compare the living entities to the bubbles of the ocean which merge into a ocean. That is the highest perfection of spiritual existence attainable without individual personality. This kind of fearful stage devoid of uh, devoid of perfect knowledge of perfect knowledge of spiritual existence. Furthermore, there are many persons who cannot understand spiritual existence at all, being embarrassed by so many theories and by contradictions of various types of philosophical speculation. They become disgusted or angry and foolishly conclude that there is no supreme cause and that everything is ultimately void. Such people in a diseased condition of life, some such people are in the diseased condition of life. Some people are too materially attached and therefore do not give attention to spiritual life. Some of them want to merge into the supreme spiritual cause, and some of them disbelieve in everything, being angry at all sorts of spiritual speculations out of hopelessness. This last class of men take to the shelter of some kind of intoxication, and their effective hallucinations are sometimes accepted as spiritual vision. One has to get rid of all the three stages of mental consciousness, consciousness, attachment to material life, fear of a spiritual personal identity, and the conception of void that arise from frustration in life. To get free from all the three stages of the material concept for life, one has to take complete shelter of the Lord, guided by the bona fide spiritual master, and follow the principles, disciplines, and regulatory principles of devotional life. The last stage of devotional life is called bhava, or transcendental love of Godhead. According to Rasamrita Sindhu, थोड़ा सा नीचे कर दीजिए प्रभु, हाँ थोड़ा सा और आई मीन यू टेक इट अपर थोड़ा सा और, हाँ, अदौ अदौ श्रद्धा तथा साधु संगोत्था भजना क्रिया ततो नार्थ निवृत्त स्यात् ततो निष्ठा रुचिस्तथा अथ शक्तिस्ततो भावास तथा प्रेम अभियु दानसति सदा कानम आयुं प्रेमणा प्रदुर प्रदुर प्रदुर्भव भावेत कर्मा. In the beginning, one must have a preliminary desire for self-realization. This will bring one to the stage of trying to associate with persons which are spiritually elevated. In the next stage, one becomes initiated by the elevated spiritual master, and under his instructions, a neophyte devotee begins the process of devotional service. By execution of devotional service under the guidance of spiritual master, one becomes free from the material attachment, attains steadiness in self-realization, and acquires a taste for hearing about absolute personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. This taste leads one further forward to attachment for Krishna consciousness, which is matured in bhava, or the uh, preliminary stage of transcendental love for God. Real love for God is called prema, the highest perfectionist stage of life. In the prema stage, there is constant engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So, by the slow process of devotional service under the guidance of bona fide spiritual master, one can attain the highest stage, being freed from all material attachment, from the fearlessness of one's individual spiritual personality, and from the frustrations that result in void philosophy. Then one can ultimately attain to the abode of Supreme Lord. Jai Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, bro. So we can do one quick discussion activity. So here, Prabhupada is writing about three types of material consciousness, three stages of material consciousness, material concept of life. The first stage is when you are totally materially absorbed, right? And the second stage is you become so much irritated and so much frustrated by the material sufferings that you take shelter of intoxication, and that result in hallucination, and they are sometimes accepted as spiritual vision. That's what was the state of hippies when Prabhupada traveled to US. Hippies were totally like, they were thinking that this marijuana and all the experience which they are having, that is the real God, right? And the third stage is like we want to merge into the Supreme. So first is like suffering by the material miseries. Second is because of that suffering we want to merge into something hollow, something like some Brahman. And the third is we want to experience the hallucination, and we want to term it as spiritual vision. So has anybody of you experienced like this, like material miseries and I think we can just keep it as a question. It's not that you want to get rid of there is something higher. Sometimes it happens, right? Like when we are suffering so much and there is so much pain, we think that okay, let's finish everything. Like there should be some higher reality where there is some more taste. There is so much suffering in this life, right? So that is because that is the like because of our past activities we are. So that's why like in the spiritual world there is no suffering. And in the Bhagavad Gita also many places Prabhupada is writing that when we are able to relish the super soul, when we are able to relish that connection with Krishna, then there is no suffering. We are able to like we become beyond the three sufferings of material miseries. So three sufferings are this sufferings caused by the demigods, by other living entities, and by our own mind. So these three things can be overcome when we take shelter of Krishna. Prashantas. Yeah. Jitatmana Prashantasya Paramatma Samayata. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, when you said there are three types of miseries created, one by our mind, so all the diseases and all those things which we get in our body is the first category, right? It is,
Yeah.
or the other one is created by other living beings. So, I mean, what does it include? Other living beings? Is it like animals? They will kill us or they will attack us, or like the other people who let us down, who sort of do wrong things to us. So I'm always
Yeah.
confused in this category.
Yeah. Yeah. Both the things they are one more. Both the things like when mosquito bites or chicken pox happens, right? Or when your manager scolds you, you feel bad. Sometimes there is a fight with the relatives. So all these are like miseries caused by other living entities. Sometimes some living entity he makes a conspiracy so that you can fall down. So those, for example, many people wanted to kill Bhakti Siddhanta, spiritual master of Prabhupada. They started even shooting through a revolver also. So all these are Adi Bhautika Klesha. And whatever is happening, sorry, chickenpox is not Adi Bhautika, it is Adhyatmika. So our subtle mind, it is reflected in our body, gross body. So if our mind is not peaceful, if our mind is suffering from something, then that will be reflected in our body also. So that's why this chanting, hearing, and Bhagavad Dharma is the real food for our mind, hearing and chanting. When we understand this, then basically we will be free from all types of sufferings. That is Adhyatmika Klesha. But generally, the most important suffering is the suffering because of our own mind, because other people also make us suffer only because of our degraded consciousness. For example, take the example of Avanti Brahmana. So Avanti Brahmana was executed by all the villagers. Like they peed on him. They start hitting stones on him, and he himself was saying that it is only because of my mind that they are acting in such a way. So the real enemy is our mind. If we can make our mind our friend, and we can think of Krishna just by this following these nine step process. Adav Shraddha Tatak Sadhu Sangha Sango tha Tatho Bhajana Kriya Tatho Anartha Nivritti Sya Tatho Nishta Ruchistata. So when we follow this process, then we can get free from the material mind. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, bro. Thank you, everyone. We'll continue with the next verse in the next Sunday.
Hare Krishna.
Next Sunday will be in the next, like in North India after a long time. Hare Krishna. Take care.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Krishna permitting.